Hey guys, this is your host Eric. Today we are going to watch drama genre movie called The Untouchables. Spoilers ahead, turn on your subtitle. I greatly appreciate your support. Enjoy the video. There are spoilers ahead, so be careful. In Paris, Dres is driving his boss Philippe around the city late at night. When waiting in traffic gets too boring, Dres breaks the speed limit and starts driving very fast, dodging other cars and not caring about traffic. The police go after him because of this, and Dres puts up €100 on his ability to lose them. But the police catch up with them after they drive under a bridge. I caught them by surprise from both sides, but Dres doesn't look too worried. And this time he bets €200 that he can get them an escort. When the police tell him to get out of the car, he acts like he's mad at Lee and says Felipe can't move and he was taking him to the hospital. The wheelchair they find in the truck and the fact that Felipe is shaking when they get close to him are both signs of this. Since it's an emergency, the police let Dres off the hook for going too fast and offer to drive him to the hospital to celebrate winning the bet. Dres puts September by earth, wind, and fire. When they get to their destination, he gives Felipe a smoke. When the police leave, Dres says he'll take care of it and drives them away just before the hospital staff can find them. This friendship started a long time ago. Felipe and his assistant Magali are holding interviews to find a new caretaker for him, but things aren't going too well because all of the applicants have very standard or awkward answers to their interview questions. However, they are all caught off guard when Dres starts to storm. Even though it's not his turn yet, he doesn't care because all he wants is for them to sign a paper saying they won't hire him so he can get unemployment benefits. He's so blunt and rude that he even hits on Monali, but Felipe finds it funny and tells him to come back the next day to get his sign. Dres goes back to his modest home in a poor neighborhood and tries to take a bath while his little brothers and sisters bother him. He just makes it in time, thanks to his sister Mina, who is a bit older and more responsible than the others while they wait for their mom to come home. When he looks out the window, he sees his brother Adam getting out of a strange-looking car. When the boy comes into the apartment, he just says that he was at school and leaves after getting his bag. This makes Dres even more sure that he's up to something. When his mother comes home in the evening, he gives her a Fabergé egg. When she asks, he says he's been on vacation, but she's not happy to see him because he disappeared for 6 months and didn't call, and now he just showed up as if her house were a hotel. She has had enough of his lies and has to take care of her other kids, so she throws him out and tells him not to come back. Dres spend the night with some neighbors having a smoke and some snacks. The next day, Dres goes back to Philippe's house to get his papers. The housekeeper, Yvonne, meets him there and shows him around while telling him about Philippe's daily routine. She also shows him the room and bathroom that would be just for him. Dres can't stop looking at the bathtub until Philippe drags him to see him. Philippe gives him a signed sheet of paper and a job opportunity. Philippe bets that Dres won't stick with the 1-month trial, but he agrees to take it. Dres has been learning how to take care of himself for the past 2 weeks. He needs to learn how to keep his legs moving, how to put him in a wheelchair, and how to help him take a shower and change his clothes. When Dres finds out, things get awkward. After Philippe goes to the bathroom, he has to put on some high socks and clean his butt. But no matter how much he complains and says he won't do those chores, he ends up taking them on as part of his job. Later that night, he was having a snack on the roof when Felipe's daughter Alyssa and her boyfriend Bastian walked up. They were looking for a private place to kiss, so he kicked them both out because he wouldn't share. Dres quickly gets used to Philippe's daily routine, even if he makes a few mistakes at first. He learns from things like giving the phone to Philippe instead of putting it to his ear or forgetting the baby monitor while taking a bath. He also learns how to sort his mail into folders. Most of the letters he opens for Philippe, but he isn't allowed to look at a few private ones. When he finds a flyer for a female escort service, he decides to put it in a special file instead of throwing it away. Even though Dres' new life is mostly about work, he still makes sure to have fun. He keeps trying to get Magali's attention, but it doesn't work, so he sometimes calls escorts to come to bed with him. After Yvonne scolds him for being late one morning, she goes to his room and finds some dangerous weapons in his bag. She doesn't say anything about them yet. Felipe is Dres' passenger for the day, but he won't let him ride in the back of a van like he's cargo. So instead, he puts him in a fancy car that he can't see. Philippe says at first that this isn't a good idea and that they should be practical, but he soon gets excited about the idea of a faster and less boring ride. Even so, Yvonne doesn't like it when they try to leave the building. A neighbor has parked in front of their door, even though there's a sign that says it's not allowed. Dres doesn't waste any time and goes after the guy, grabbing him by the front of his shirt and threatening him until he moves the car. Felipe is impressed by what he did, but Yvonne again disappeared. Philippe wants to buy a piece of art from a museum, but Dres doesn't think it's worth the money because it's just a red blotch on the canvas. Philippe then talks to a family member, who tells him everyone is afraid of DRIs because he can be dangerous. He also found out that he has been in trouble with the law, but Philippe doesn't care after another failed attempt to hit on Magali. He likes DRIs because he doesn't feel sorry for him and doesn't mind joking around with him. While Dres and Yvonne eat dinner in the kitchen, Philippe dictates a letter to Mac. Jan turns off the baby monitor and starts to talk about what's going on. He says it's a private conversation. Philippe has a pen pal named Ellie Anner. Those are the letters he didn't let anyone open, but he's never met Ellie Anner in person. Their relationship is a complete and utter joke. When they talk about love, DRIs makes fun of Yvonne for the way the gardener always looks at her before bed. He is trying to sleep when he hears strange sounds coming from the baby monitor. Philippe has problems. He can't be ignored, no matter how hard he tries. DRIs goes to his room and comforts him with soothing words while wiping his face with a wet cloth. Philippe finally falls asleep, but when he wakes up a few minutes later, he says he needs to get some air. DRIs doesn't hesitate this time. He puts Philippe in the wheelchair, puts blankets over him, and takes him for a walk along the river. Philippe hasn't seen Paris at night in a long time. Now that he has, he's more at ease. He tells DRIs that the medicine can only help him so much and that he sometimes has toe. Philippe also tells when they see some girls walking by. Because of his situation, he can't please a woman, but he can still feel good when someone massages his ears, which are sensitive spots. When the pain starts to feel like it might come back, DRIs gives Philippe one of his joints. Philippe is skeptical at first, but he ends up loving it. After that, they go to a restaurant where they share a meal and joke around while eating. Philippe decides to give them more of his food. He met his wife when they were both students. Soon after they got married, she had 5 miscarriages and was told she had a disease that couldn't be cured and would kill her. They took Alyssa in at that time. Philippe has always loved competitions, extreme sports, and speed, and a paraglider gave him all of those things. He broke his back when he crashed while paragliding because of bad weather. He still thinks that his real handicap isn't the chair, but living without it. After joking around some more, Philippe remembers the date and realizes that Dres has passed his 1-month trial and is now officially hired. However, he needs to start by giving Philippe's wife the fash egg that Dres stole. She gave him one every year, so he now has 25. This is the same number of years that they were together. The next day, DRIs goes to talk to Mino as she's leaving school. Mino is a little upset because he hasn't been answering her messages except to tell her to look for the egg. She also tells him that some police officers have called. After that, he goes to see Adama, who tells him that he was found with 30 grams. Adama says no when Dres wants to take him to lunch. Instead, he gets in the same suspicious car he was in before. In the end, DRES will be allowed to be there, while Philippe reads El Anner's letter to Magali. He thinks Philippe's flowery language is boring and that Philippe should be more straightforward. He is also confused that this has been going on for 6 months and they haven't talked to each other. When he finds her phone number in one of the letters, he takes it as a sign and calls her. Philippe has to pick up the phone and talk to her for the first time outside of writing. Their talk is going so well. Philippe talks to her on the phone all the time now, even right before he and Dres go to the opera, where DRIs laughs at the costumes and makes fun of them. The next day, DRIs talks Philippe into agreeing to trade photos with La Anner. He chooses a photo of Philippe in a wheelchair. Alyssa then bursts into his room while he is painting to ask for cigarettes and makes fun of him for trying to be. Getting angry, he kicks her out and then goes to see Philippe, who is asking Yvonne to switch the picture to one of him when he wasn't in a wheelchair. She puts the picture in the escort file right before DRIs comes in to complain about Alyssa and tell Philippe that he needs to punish her, which Yvonne agrees with. Philippe agrees to talk to her, but he's mostly surprised when DRIs tells her that he's been painting. Philippe and DRIs are still good friends, and the days keep going by. Drews brings him out to play in the snow with him. Philippe buys him his first suit and scolds his daughter when he goes for a run, and DRIs listens to him through the baby monitor. DRIs shows Monali his first painting when it's done, but she hits him when he tries to kiss her. Philippe, on the other hand, thinks the painting is good and says he'll try to sell it. They have a lot of fun together, doing things like getting a faster car, smoking together, and even hiring escorts together. Philippe doesn't get too excited about his birthday. Every year, he acts surprised that they're having a party and has to meet with all his relatives who only come to see him on the date to check he hasn't died yet. Philippe says that everything will be pretty dull while he and the other guests listen to live classical music. Drew looks for Alyssa, who is crying in her room because she took some of Yvonne's pills and found out they wouldn't kill her as she had hoped. Bastian broke up with her and called her a tart, which is why she's sad. So she asked Tris to talk to the boy, which he agrees to do for her. Philippe is showing his relative DRI's painting, and he manages to get his relative to buy it for 11,000 euros. DRIs goes back to the dining room and talks to Yvonne. Yvonne tells DRIs that Magali is dating a man named Fred. But things aren't going so well right now, which gives DRI's hope as the party starts to wind down. Felipe makes DRI's listen to some of the most important pieces of classical music ever written, but he could only laugh in response. After the band is done, he brings his iPod and plays Boogie Wonderland by Earth, Wind, and Fire. Then, right in the middle of the crowd, he starts dancing. He is a great dancer, and he gets the rest of the party to dance with him. Felipe enjoys watching this later. When DRI's opens Eleanor's latest letter to him while putting Felipe to bed, she sent him a picture of herself that showed how pretty she is, and she told him that they should meet up when she goes to Paris next week. When the date day comes, Yvonne and DRI's make Felipe try on a lot of different outfits until they find the best one. Since it's Yvonne, she'll be the one to drive Felipe to the date. DRI's goes to see Bastien on his day off and threatens him until the boy agrees to apologize to Eliza and bring her croissants every day. After that, he asks him to fix his hair. He goes to see his mother at work, but only to watch her from afar. Yvonne and Felipe are waiting at the restaurant for La Anna, who is very late. Felipe gives up waiting after an hour, calls Dr. to ask him to take him away, and then sneaks out of the restaurant without anyone noticing. The same is true for Eleanor. That same night, Felipe takes DRI's with him in his private plane and gives him the money he got from selling the picture, which makes him very happy. The next morning, they are in the country, and Felipe decides to leave. He went paragliding while pulling DRI's behind him. DRI's doesn't want to do it, but after he freaks out at first, he ends up liking it when they get back home. Adama is there waiting for Dress and gets in trouble. Adama still won't tell DRI's what's going on in his life, even when he sees the scars on his face. So DRI's makes him wait in his room while he calls Mina to tell her not to worry and then goes to put Felipe to bed. Felipe, on the other hand, isn't tired yet. After making DRI's look at a painting with him, he asks him about his family. DRI's didn't want to talk about his family at first, but he eventually did. Adama isn't really his brother, and his parents aren't really his parents either. His aunt and uncle live there, because they couldn't have children. They brought him from Senegal when he was 8 years old. His real name is Bakari Vasari, but because that was the name of other kids, they called him Idris, and that was his name from then on. One day, his aunt got pregnant for no apparent reason, and after his uncle died, there were other men and more children. Dree had told him about Alyssa in the same way. Felipe says that Adamo needs discipline, so he fires Dree so that he can be with his family and not spend his whole life taking care of an old man. After Bastien brings his daily croissant and fixes his hair the next morning, DRI's packs his bags and gets ready to leave. Magali comes to say goodbye, and when DRI's tries to hit on her one last time, she introduces him to Fred, which is short for Frederick, his girlfriend. It turns out that Magali doesn't like men, so DRI's gives up right away. On his way out of the house, he gives the baby monitor back to Yvonne and makes fun of her for lying to him about Magali just to mess with him. She gives him the escort file in exchange. He had already started, so it's a bummer that the picture he had chosen was already there. The file gets thrown away, but DRI's keeps the picture for himself. Once he gets outside, he finds a car blocking the entrance again, so he asks the driver to move even though he no longer works there. When Adama tells him what he's doing wrong, "It's a matter of principle," says DRI's. A few hours later, the two brothers go to the train station to pick up their mother, while Felipe is having his first dinner with his new caretaker, who is stuffy and boring, and Felipe decides to leave him without even eating. Since Yvonne is out with the gardener on a date, nobody is around to tell him off. As time goes on, DRI's goes back to what he used to do. He hangs out with his old friends again and tells the guys in the suspicious car to stop bothering Adama. He doesn't have enough experience when he goes to an interview. He convinces the boss to hire him by saying he is practical and using all the art skills he learned while working for Felipe. He gets a job as a driver because of this. Felipe still doesn't like his new caretaker, and he stays in a bad mood all the time. One night, he tells everyone in the house that they can't help him with the pain in his head. Savin calls him and tells him to dress. So, that's how they got into the situation in the first place, with the police chasing after them and later taking them to the hospital. After that little adventure, DRI's drives Felipe to the coast, and Felipe calms down when he sees the sea. Felipe has a long beard, so DRI's trims it before taking him to a restaurant for lunch. He doesn't stay, though, because Felipe will be with someone else. DRI's tells him good luck and gives him his egg back. Then he leaves. Felipe starts to worry that he will be alone until he finds out who his date is. The real Count is happy to see La Anna, who doesn't mind the chair at all. Felipe Paso de Borgo lives in Morocco at the moment. He got a second wife and now has 2 daughters. Abdul was the name of the real DRI's. Yasmin Cello has a business of his own. Also, Furman is married and has 3 kids. Even now, the 2 men are still very close friends. We really appreciate you watching. If you enjoy this video, please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel with the notification bell because it is really important for us. Thank you.